The Chiefs have a plan for their offensive line, specifically the tackles, and you're not really going to dig it. We're going to get into the deep of it today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. We're brought to you today by BetterHelp. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist, and they can take you on your journey of self-discovery from wherever you are right now. That's BetterHelp.com/LockedOn. You can check them out today and get 10% off of your first month. Thanks for making us your first listen. There's a lot going on here. We'd love it if you check out another Locked On show because we are everywhere, including the fact that you can now get us on the SiriusXM app, where you'll be able to hear some bits and pieces of our shows later on the broadcast as the season rolls around. But if you need Locked On Chiefs in a new way, you can get it at SiriusXM on their app right now as of this moment. And you everydayers are probably used to seeing or hearing something that I talked about last week about what might happen at the defensive end group. We're going to talk about that on Thursday. Make sure you don't miss it. Today, we have to get in the trenches on the offensive side. A lot to talk about here, back and forth, and this might not be the end of the story either, but we're going to give you our takes of what we think is going to happen. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, the home of the Athletic Matrix and the Draft Guide. You can check that out at rogueapc.com. You can also find my work at NFL33.com, where me and the staff are running down grades on all of the draft classes for all the divisions, and you can always see the film reviews at RGR Football.
And I'm Chris Clark from Chiefs Corner. There is a lot to talk about when we start talking about the tackle position and how this is going to affect Kansas City this year and going forward. I think it's interesting. Andy Reid came out and basically stated that they're going to start Jawaan Taylor at right tackle and Donovan Smith at left tackle. And granted, it's just OTAs, but that's where they're going to start.
Now, we've seen some plans come to the forefront of discussion. A number of guys have been planned to be in a position in OTAs, and doesn't look anything like that come the regular season. So we have to take this with a block of salt. But that said, this is kind of what you had to expect, right? You can be frustrated. We'll talk about why the back and forth planning in the next segment here. But for right now, what this does is it sets up two veterans. One, obviously further down the road in his career, in Donovan Smith, who's always played on the left-hand side in the NFL. And one younger guy, but still a veteran of 4 years, in Jawaan Taylor, who's always played on the right-hand side. So in terms of two guys being at home, this is where it should have been in the first place. We'll talk about back and forth in a minute, but this, I think, gives them the best opportunity for everyone to be comfortable getting in with your tackle tandem, brand new to the roster, trying to get used to Mahomes, trying to get used to Joe Thuney and Trey Smith. There's some insight there. We'll talk about Wanya Morris later in the third as well, but I think this sets up everybody to have like the smoothest transition possible for their positional like comfort level.
Yeah, and I don't think that it would have made sense for them to try to flip him just because you don't want to have two guys trying to learn new positions going into the year. And you're right. I mean, the tackle tandem is completely different this year for Kansas City, so it's going to be something that we're going to have to address, and then we're going to have different starters there regardless. This is the way they're going. And quite frankly, I think we've talked about this already in yesterday's show and maybe even before that last week, talking about how Donovan Smith was probably a backup plan. I think they really did want to trade up and go get a left tackle that they expected to be their guy, and that didn't work out. This is a pretty good backup plan for them, and it puts them in a position where maybe they're not able to get their guy this year, obviously, but maybe they can go draft a guy next year, or maybe they think Wanya Morris can possibly be that guy in a year or two.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about him and his development here later in the show. But for all the people pushing back about how this isn't a plan B, it feels like it. Because the whole comp pick scenario, whatever, I know there was a reason to wait to make this signing until when they did.
Actually, that doesn't matter because he was cut, so he wouldn't have applied to the comp picks anyway. So then need to clarify that for beforehand.
So if that's the case, and I thought I read in the bylines that it still counts for the Chiefs formula, obviously not the Bucks, but whatever the case may be, that's even more reason why, if this was the plan all along, why didn't this happen pre-draft? That feeds more into my concept that this was, we're going to do the best we can, and if we can get the guys that we want, that we feel can fit on the left, we're going to go do that. And if we can't, this is going to be our plan B. There's nothing wrong with being a plan B. And I'm not trying to run down Donovan Smith because I think he is the plan B. But does that bother you? Or do you think that I'm not like giving the organization enough grief about this?
I don't know why you give the organization grief about this. You're sitting at 31. You're either going to do one of two things. You're either going to trade up and give up a lot more capital that you probably don't want to give up to go get that player, or you're going to stay put and you're going to see who's there. And if they're not there, then you have to go and you have to change your plans. I think that this was always a probability for Kansas City. If they wanted a left tackle, they were going to have to trade up to go get it. We saw, basically looking at all the mock drafts that were done, all the tackles were gone early. And that's just the reality of the way it is in the NFL. And nobody seemed to want to trade with Kansas City to make them stronger after they won the Super Bowl this past year. So I get it in both regards. But if you're going to want to go get one of those top 3 left tackles, or, maybe you only had 2 because you think Skronsky is a guard, you're going to have to trade up into the teens to get that, and maybe even high teens to, go get that, obviously. So at that point, you're in a situation where you just can't get that done unless you're going to give up maybe a first-round pick next year. That's asking a lot, because the other reality about it is, are these guys generational type talents? And the reason I point that out, and the reason I ask that question, if they're not, are they worth 2 first-rounders? If they're a generational left tackle that you believe that it can play in the league for the next 10 to 15 years and is going to be a perennial Pro Bowler and potentially All-Pro 3 or 4 or 5 times, then maybe you do that. Maybe you trade up another first-round pick. But if he's not, the value's not there for it.
I agree. And when you look at what next season has to be, it might have to be 2 1s next year, because the elite of the elite are going to cost as well. But this class was specific, and I'll explain what I mean by that right after we tell you about our friends from BetterHelp, because this class, I think, was part of the reason this scenario had to be here as a part B. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. They give you everything you need to go on your journey about self-discovery and getting a better feel for who you are and how you're going to go through that. I always need somebody to talk to, because when you make decisions as a business owner back and forth and in all kinds of media outlets, you have to make sure that you have a concept of where you're going in the long run. It's helped me, and it helps everyone, I think, by having someone to talk to and feel their way through it. So if you're thinking of giving therapy a try, you should give BetterHelp a try in order to do that. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, it's flexible, and it's suited to your schedule, not your therapist's schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire. They match you with a licensed therapist, and you start down that path. If it doesn't work out, you can switch therapists at any time at no additional charge. You just have to get started and feel out that process. You can find more balance. You can find yourself with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon. And you can get 10% off of your first month right now, today. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. You can see it right down here at the bottom of the screen if you're on the YouTube feed. And you can get that discount right now. Check out BetterHelp. Now, what I mean by this class kind of took us in this direction is because if we're correct, and the franchise's original plan was trade up, get the best tackle they can, go after it. What I think is a down year, and overall, the 2023 draft class is not as good as the last few years. And I think in retrospect, in a couple of years from now, we're going to see just how much the level of competency in the league is a drop-off. And so what does that do? The Chiefs have been through this before as an organization, not Brett Veach and Andy Reid. But the last time that it felt like this to me, what happened? You had 3 tackles go up at the top of the draft, including one Eric Fisher, to the Chiefs. It worked out well then because the Chiefs had the need, just like they did now. It was more dire then. And I think whenever a draft class gets thin on talent, especially outside of the top quarterbacks, offensive linemen become the safe selections. And I think that's why so many offensive linemen went early in this draft. Frustrating for the Chiefs, but it makes sense when you look at the draft overall.
Well, it's kind of funny you bring up that draft. That was 10 years ago. And quite frankly, that is the one draft where there was no QB talent. I don't think there was a QB taken until Geno Smith in the second round that year. And it was frustrating to be a Chiefs fan looking back 10 years ago and saying, we need a QB and there's nobody to take.
It's the nature of the beast. Every class is its own. And what we've heard already about this class, and I haven't even begun the film work yet, I'm just looking at statistical markers to get an idea of who's where. There's a familiar name that the Chiefs are going to be interested in, I guarantee you. They probably already are. But the problem is the top 2, maybe even 3 tackles could go in the top 10 again next year and could be in that same situation. So I think forethought is probably buying themselves a float year here because they couldn't get it done in 2023. It still may cost them 2 2s next year. But in the meantime, what Donovan Smith gives you is a life preserver to get through this year and keep Patrick upright and healthy.
2 2s or 2 1s? I think it's going to cost you 2 1s.
Oh, I meant 2 1s. Apologies. I have
problem.
trouble saying that out loud, so I had to go to the 2s.
I get it. And the question then becomes, are those guys generational type guys? And I know the guy you're talking about. We won't get into names right now because that's way down the line and we don't need to talk about it. But the big key here is you have to fill in the position. And quite frankly, there are people that are frustrated that Kansas City came out and said that Jawaan Taylor was going to be the left tackle. I get it. You don't like that the team came out and said that. But personally, I wouldn't have liked it if they would have come out and said that he's going to be the right tackle. Because then you tell everybody what you're trying to do in the draft.
And that's exactly why I think they did it this way, is they had to try to at least put up the facade of, no, we don't need a left tackle. That's not our top priority. We're not only interested in protecting Mahomes as our number one thing. I think it was all smoke and mirrors. I just hope that it was internal communication with Jawaan and he didn't waste a ton of time practicing on the left. Now, he could still end up on the left. That is one of the possible outcomes. We're going to talk about the young guys coming up here, but let's take a step back. And for those of you that complained, and I did see all of your complaints about how I'm not giving the organization enough grief about this, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all trying to get to what your end goal is, and that's to have 2 tackles that you feel can protect Patrick better this season than they did last season. That's what it comes down to. And I still think there is a possibility. If Donovan Smith, who has had significant injury history in the last couple of seasons, if he were to either get re-injured or if he hasn't fully recovered, there is still a possibility, though he's going to start on the left-hand side to begin OTAs. There's no guarantee that he survives OTAs. So Jawaan Taylor could move right back over to that left spot. I don't see that as a problem unless it's caused friction inside the organization with Jawaan himself. That's the only thing that I would say is a risk that would cause me concern about the way this has come down.
Yeah, no, and I would say specifically, I can't imagine that Kansas City didn't bring in Jawaan Taylor and tell him from the start, you are not going, we may end up using you at left tackle, but we may end up getting somebody else. I can't imagine the organization is going to be upfront with their players and tell them that. And that's just going to be the reality of it. And the players are going to understand that the team is trying to put their best foot forward the best that they can. And quite frankly, like I said earlier, I would have been pissed if they would have come out and said, well, no, Jawan's going to stay at right tackle. And you can also miss me with the thoughts of we're overpaying a right tackle. No, you're not. In this division, you're going to be going up against Max Crosby and who knows who else on that side. You need to have the best guy you can possibly have, regardless of left or right.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, a season without Patrick under center is a problem. We all know that. As much as you're going to build the rest of the offense around him without that player, you're in trouble. And you can scratch Super Bowl off of the list. If Patrick Mahomes gets hurt where he can't finish the season, although, knock on wood, it hasn't happened yet, but I'm tired of seeing the man limp, whether it's a toe issue, whether it's a high ankle sprain. If he gets to the point where he can't just power through these things, which is pretty remarkable, especially this last one that I think because of the hype of the Super Bowl and the way that the postseason was running, like I don't think it got its due, especially in national media, about just how much pain that he had to play through. He was still talking about he wasn't 100% a few weeks ago. That's how significant that injury was. Anything worse, and you're talking about missing MVP quarterback for the rest of the season, and that's done.
Yeah, and then you're also looking at the situation where he has that, 26 or 20-plus yard run in the Super Bowl that he gutted out. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could tell on his face he was gutting that run out, but he did it to win the game. He did it to send them, to a Super Bowl victory. And quite frankly, he won the game for him on that run.
Agreed. Now, that's just one aspect of this. Where do the young guys come in? There are 2 of them in particular we have to talk about, maybe a third, and we'll see who else gets signed. As of now, we've not seen any new signings after this rookie camp that did just conclude today on Monday. A little bit different schedule for the Chiefs as is for the rest of the league. But more to talk about there. And tomorrow, Matt Derrick will be here Thursday. We're going to get into the defensive ends, including Felix and Duque, Uzama, as well as one former 55 that's been on this roster before. Don't miss that discussion because it might just start to heat up now. But on the backside of this, we have to get into who are the guys that are in position to help both Jawaan Taylor and Donovan Smith. Now,
really quick.
Please.
I just want to say really quick before we jump into that, we are also going to have a special Thursday night live show talking about the schedule release. So just know that that is coming Thursday night. We will have a live YouTube show. So obviously audio will go up a little bit late because the schedule release is not supposed to happen until 7 p.m. Central. So more than likely we'll be going about 8 o'clock would be my guess for the schedule release. Yeah. And we will be talking about the Chiefs games, when they're playing, who they're playing, and how all that's going to play into it. So just want to throw that out there as a heads up.
And it's a perfect opportunity. If you are an audio subscriber and you've been with us forever, this YouTube thing is new, but you can see and interact with us a little bit. The nice thing about the lives, the chat is real. We can answer questions. We can kind of tailor the show to what you guys are looking for as we go through our discussion. So please join us live on YouTube on Thursday night. We will have a Thursday episode for you. Obviously, that will hit the shelves, so to speak, on Wednesday nights. Don't miss that. But a lot coming on that schedule, and I think it's going to be interesting. A lot of talk about the Cincinnati Bengals when they're going to be on this schedule this year. So we'll get there.
And they're still trying to call it Burrowhead, but whatever.
Keep trying, bro.
Yeah,
it's okay. So as we take a step back, all this hubbub about what the draft plan was and what it wasn't, here's what it comes down to for me and where we're left here. I find it very, very conspicuous that there's been zero talk of Lucas Niang this week. Everything else has kind of been floated out there. Hey, welcome to the team, et cetera, et cetera. I am concerned for Lucas's health at this point, and certainly his future on this roster, because I don't see a peep about any positive vibes. We'll see how he is. We'll see how he looks when he gets it. Like nothing. So either it's a total surprise or he's not quite ready to play, and that's why all these things are coming together at the tackle position. Do you disagree with that, or do you think I'm being tinfoil hat guy?
I don't know what to think about Lucas Niang at this point. You look at OTAs are coming up for Kansas City. That's when we're really going to find out about Lucas Niang. If he's out there at OTAs, then that means that maybe things are going the right direction. For them not to even say anything when they did talk about, the running back coming, Isaiah Pacheco having 2 injuries, having surgery, and why Felix Uzama, Felix FAU, I'll just call him that. Yeah, there you go. That name is going to get me multiple times. I apologize. Why FAU wasn't out there practicing a rookie minicamp? Because he had a broken finger, a broken thumb. Trying to heal from that. He should be ready to go maybe by OTAs. If he's not ready to go by OTAs, he'll be ready to go by training camp. And quite frankly, I said this a couple of times over the last couple of days when we were talking about rookie minicamp. It doesn't really matter if he's not out there. He can get some of the mental reps. That's going to help as well. But Kansas City knew going into the draft that he had this injury, and they're obviously fine with it. It's something that he'll be able to, he'll be fine by the time training camp starts, which is really when it's going to be important for him.
Yeah, absolutely. What it doesn't say is that any kind of update on Lucas himself. So when we take a look at the tackle position, this comes back to the plan. And with all the tackles going so early in this draft, you had to make a conscious effort. I'm sure the draft board was a little bit elevated for Wanye after the first round happened. You reset on day 2, and you kind of bolster around and see where do we need to be really specific. In moving up for Rashid, I think that also set the table for what you had to do at tackle. And so while I think it was a positional, there's a lot of talk today about whether Wanye was a reach or not. I will say they took him higher than I would have taken it. And we all know that there are specific reasons for that. Athletically, body type wise, arm length in particular, you can toss all that aside because what you had to do is get a developmental guy because the top tier plug and play starters were all gone. There's no option there. I think there was a gap. And what we've seen is Matthew Bergeron's been announced. He's going to go to guard. I think that was his best spot all along. So that was another option off the table. And so when you look at it, it comes down to Wanye being that third, fourth tier, the top of it. And so they went and they got their guy. He wasn't able to work out a lot during the draft process because of pulled hamstring at the combine. So now it's about, What can you do to get him started? And yes, he did play left tackle at times in Tennessee. He did play right tackle at Oklahoma, a little bit of left as well. In terms of like snap counts, it's about even. But here's the thing. Wanya Morris was much more successful as a right tackle in college than he was as a left tackle. Doesn't mean he can't go become a swing student. And maybe if Donovan goes down, maybe it is Wanya that is the next guy to go in there, even though it's on the side that was not his strength in college. It could be where he gets his first action in the NFL.
It's possible. I mean, that's one of the biggest positions that we said Kansas City had to figure out. They need to figure out left tackle, but they also need to figure out the swing tackle. That is almost as important as having your starting tackles. It's just reality. You have to have a guy that can step in and play either of those positions. And at this point, Kansas City didn't have that guy. And say you overdrafted him. I mean, you can say it all you want. The reality is we're not going to know for a couple of months or a couple of years. If he steps in and becomes a starter and is a serviceable starter, a third-round pick for a serviceable starter, even if it's right tackle, is still worth it.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. And let's be clear, he's allowed 2 sacks and a total of 8 pressures as a right tackle in 2022. Didn't play as many snaps in 2021, but only allowed 3 pressures there. On the right-hand side, left-hand side was about even in terms of snap counts. When you go back to when he played right, which was out at Tennessee, that almost doubles. 11 in 2020, and it looks like it was 25 pressures as a freshman at Tennessee on the left-hand side. So it doesn't really matter if you feel he has to be a right or you feel he has to be a left. This is one of those true euphemisms that everybody throws out, but I do believe in this case in particular, it is real. It doesn't matter how he got here. He's here. And whether he's taking drops as a left tackle or as a right tackle, whatever he needs to do, I think he has the ability to be the swing now, and maybe he can grow into a starter at either side. It's about how he adapts to the NFL right now, not what he did in college.
It's true. And they have Andy Heck, who is one of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL. You see that said by multiple different players that have played for him. And he obviously is a guy that is wanting to get better. He got better every year. Yeah, he went from left to right. It changes maybe who you're going up against pressure-wise. But if you're improving every year in college, you're probably going to continue to improve and continue to grow. He's a young guy too. So you're also looking at a situation where he could be just growing into his body and getting what he needs to be able to do. He's got the length. That's one of the biggest things that Kansas City looks for is the length in a tackle, and he's got that. So that's something that he has going for him. And regardless of how it ends up with him, if he's not a starter this year and he is just the swing guy this year, that's still a good position for him to be in. If he can be a guy that they can rely on to come in and be that swing guy, if either the starting tackles goes down, that's a very important position. And you're sitting in a situation where next year you've got to figure out, okay, Donovan Smith was a 1-year deal. More than likely, we still don't even know the reality of his contract yet. Yeah, we know it's a 1-year deal, but we don't know how the numbers are played out. So that'll be something to watch, and we'll get you that information as soon as we get it. But you look at this situation, and they have now a left tackle that's played left tackle for his entire career, a right tackle that's played right tackle for his entire career, and they've got a young guy that can step in and probably play both positions. And now you have a guy in Andy Heck that's going to be working on technique and working on everything with him. So I think that he's in a great spot. So I'm excited about the offensive line. I think that, you also look at a situation where they're also going to be going up against better competition, but they're on both left and right side. They're going to have guys that are Pro Bowlers in the NFL or playing close to a Pro Bowl level at the NFL at left guard and right guard. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a great offensive line to step into. And getting that chemistry down is going to be important.
It is a big safety net for a young or a new tackle to have that guard that's solid, especially in one instance where he knows him. Played with Trey before, has played with Creed. Like, I think that's a synergy you don't always get. So we'll have more on this tomorrow. We'll get Matt Derrick's inside info from the facility. Our beat reporter will be with us tomorrow. Don't miss that show. Remember, we are 5 days a week. So Thursday, we're talking defensive ends. Who's going to rush the passer? who could get a little bit of help from a veteran possibly, and who's the guys in the rotation that we have to keep an eye on. And then Friday, we will have that live Thursday night episode for you for the schedule release, and that will be on all the audio platforms for Friday. So please prepare your week. Come spend some time with us. We're looking forward to it. We appreciate you listening today. There's a lot going on, and I know that it just feels like the offseason just started, but yet we're right in the thick of it again.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot to talk about in the coming weeks, and we are going to have you covered. And we do appreciate those everydayers out there, and please let us know what you enjoy hearing from us and what you have enjoyed in the past during this time, because we're going to be coming up with things to talk about over the next couple of weeks and months as we head into the time where there's going to be a little bit of a dull time between now and training camp.
No dull time. It's just how crazy do I have to get about the fullbacks?
Well, it's going to be dull time when it comes to the NFL and news. Let me put it that way. Not dull time with us. NFL and news. There won't be much coming out.
There will be some signings, folks, from this rookie camp. We should have that for you relatively soon, hopefully tomorrow. There will be more as we go through because OTAs are right around the corner as well. We'll get a first look on those practice fields of what things are going to look like. And by the way, a nice new shiny coat of paint on the wall there at the facility right above the practice facility says Super Bowl champs and has 3 entries now. So if you get a chance, go check that out. Hope you have a great day today. Be back with us tomorrow with Matt Derrick. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you then.